Hey guys, welcome to the Creepy channel. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and hit our bell notification for all the up-to-date videos. Thank you, I hope you enjoy, and come back. Hey guys, welcome back to the Creepy channel. This video is going to be about urban legends. About the facts and the fictions behind the stories. This urban legend takes place in Alabama. The legend is the Dead Children's Playground. The legend goes, the Dead Children's Playground sits right slap dab in the middle of one of the state's oldest and largest cemeteries. The cemetery itself rests on about 100 acres of land. It's in Huntsville, Alabama. In 1822, Maple Hill Cemetery was founded, but the park was not constructed until 1869. The park official name is Droust Park, but all the locals know it only as Dead Children's Playground. It sits deep into the cemetery, enclosed by three sides by cliffs and trees. Long branches hang overhead, which seem to always give it that dark, closed-in feeling. Now, to most, just the location of the playground alone would be enough to make it eerie, haunted, and just all around creepy place to be. But not only do the little children of the cemetery come here to play, it also hides another dark secret. In the 1960s, several children went missing. The legend goes that there was a child serial killer loose in the town, and in a field just to the right of the playground is where the killer would bury many of the children that were abducted. The townspeople mostly seem to believe that the killings were the result of some kind of satanic rituals. So it is said, right after dark, the little playground starts teeming to life with paranormal activity. There are many paranormal investigators that came here and would catch hundreds of pictures of supposed orbs. The locals all have their own stories to what goes on in the playground after dark. Many local and not so local paranormal investigators have trekked here many times after dark in hopes of catching something paranormal. Just a few of the stories include the investigators hearing little children singing and laughing, and even hearing children call out their very own name to them. They have even reported having seen the swings going back and forth, swaying as if a little child were on each, just swinging back and forth, side by side to one another, without there being any wind in the air. They have reported the sound of little children running, but no one in sight. Also, sightings of dust being kicked up as if children were running and playing. The playground equipment moving on its own, and the sounds of children laughing. Now, not so long ago, back in 2007, they tried to do away with the park to make way for more grave sites to be added. But the locals got so upset and in such an uproar, they had no other choice but to bring in new equipment and re-erect the old playground right back. But now don't get it wrong, while some locals seem to think quite fond of the place and say it's a memorial and even sentimental to all the little children in the cemetery that have passed on, many others will tell everyone they know not to even go there after dark. that just the dark, eerie feeling of being anywhere even close to the park makes them want to run in the opposite direction and avoid it at all costs. It's no mystery what keeps bringing people back to the little simple playground that was once built to keep children busy as their families visited with loved ones past. But it's also a dark reminder that it was also a burial ground for numerous little children that lost their lives those many decades ago at the hands of a town madman. Many can't help but just be drawn to the overall dark mystery of the place. First dawned the Droust Park, but now simply known as the Dead Children's Playground. If you ever decide to go visit Alabama, go visit the little children there after dark. Don't forget to snap a few photos. You never know what might turn up. And therefore, the Dead Children's Playground is Alabama's most famous urban legend. Now the facts behind the child abduction story. On August 2nd of 1962, Larry Thomas was kidnapped after watching a Little League baseball practice in Midfield, Alabama. Soon thereafter, on August 7th, 1962, the boy's body had been discovered in a shallow grave behind a cabin. Larry Thomas and a fellow 11-year-old, Kim Kennedy, were playing on the monkey bars when a stranger in a car pulled up and told the boys he was waiting on a friend of theirs, and then persuaded the two boys to get into his car by promising them to take them to get cold soft drinks at the local Fairfield drugstore. When they reached the drugstore, Kim was sent inside with money to fetch the boys soft drinks. But when Kim came back out, the car, the stranger, and Larry were gone. The kidnapper would later be identified as 28-year-old Michael Anthony Maloya that worked in the local Blount County barbershop. It would later be learned that Michael had been previously convicted of sodomy on a previous child in Maryland of 1955, and also in connections of another child's disappearance in California. On August 3rd, Police Chief Handy went searching for Michael after he did not open his shop that day as usual. They found Michael's car behind the shop, then went inside and found notes that Michael had left. The notes that would later help in the connection with the lost boy. The notes would read, "Pray for me all, I'm leaving now and won't be back." 5 days after Larry vanished, Michael, with no warrant out for his arrest, walked into a Baltimore, Maryland FBI office. Michael told FBI agent Russell Vorpagel that, quote, something bad had been bothering him a great deal, that he had killed a little boy in Alabama and wanted to get it off of his chest. At the time, the FBI was not yet aware of the boy's disappearance. Michael told the FBI agent that he took the boy to his Blount County cabin and assaulted and then killed the child. Michael then told the agents that once he had assaulted the boy, he dozed off, and in the early morning, while the boy was still asleep, he took a .22 caliber revolver from under his pillow and shot the boy. Michael then stated that he, quote, tried to make it as painless as possible. After I shot the boy, I wrapped him up and took him outside to a trench around the cabin. Then I put him in the corner of the trench, covered him with dirt, and then went to work, Michael stated. The confession soon led police to Michael's cabin and then Larry's body. Patrolmen investigated the shallow grave next to the cabin where Larry Thomas was buried. The patrolman stated that the boy was buried in a gutter-type grave, and the youngster was shot, cut with a knife, and his body covered with disinfectant in hopes to speed up decomposition. The body was then wrapped in a blanket and buried in concrete sacks in a 2-foot-deep grave. Michael claimed he had decided on August 5th of 1962 to turn himself in for the murder of Larry Wayne Thomas, but had wanted to avoid trial in Alabama. That's why he went to Maryland before turning himself in. The grief-stricken father of Larry Thomas would later have the painstaking task of identifying his son's body. On November 12, 1962, Michael Malloy's trial began, and his fate was in a jury's hands for only 9 hours before they decided to give him life in prison. After the verdict was read, Larry's mother then ran up to the bench and screamed, "How could you give him life and not the chair?" The jury foreman, Cecil Putman, hung his head low and mumbled utterly to the mother, "I did all I could do." The law enforcement patrolman that headed the investigation would be the honorable pallbearers as they laid Larry to rest in the Midfield Cemetery exactly 1 week after his abduction. As of 2016, Michael Malloys is Alabama's longest continuously serving inmate. He has served 59 years of his life sentence thus far. In 2003, Michael waived his rights to a parole hearing. Today, just the mention of his name still evokes rage in many of Blount County's citizens that remember those hot August days when they were too afraid to let their children outside to play. And those are the facts of the only child abduction I could find from the location and time period. So even though a lot of people may think that urban legends are made-up stories, a lot of the facts behind them are true, even though over the years the facts are stretched and people may fantasize a lot of the extra factors into those stories. There are still many truths behind the stories itself.